Okay. Hi,
Hello.
I'm Jody Shadoff. This is Conversations with Caregivers. It is the first, and if I was better at this, there would be a logo someplace, but I didn't like the way that looked when I tried it. So maybe next time. Um, Conversations with Caregivers is going to be a monthly free Zoom. Hi, Sue. Sue, I think, is joining me next month. Today, we're talking about what it's like to be a caregiver to someone who is dealing with addiction or substance abuse. And my two guests here, Substack writers, we have Kelly Thompson from There's Nothing Wrong with You and There Never Was, and Bridget Young, Black Sheep Mom. They are both mothers of children who have dealt with addiction. Those children are all adults now. And where do I fit in? I was the addict in the family. So there are unique situations when it comes to dealing with addiction. In other caregiving situations, maybe you're waiting for someone to die, you're just trying to make them more comfortable. Here, you're struggling to keep somebody alive, and there's lots of conflicting emotions. We won't be able to cover everything, but the right answer is always the one that works for you in the moment. And it may not work for you in the next moment. Kelly is out of Denver, Colorado. She is currently seeking representation for her memoir in progress, Losing My Religion, a memoir of rupture and rapture. She also has a program of her own, Women Are Talking. It is a free Zoom salon on the last Tuesday of each month at 5 p.m. Mountain, 7 p.m. Eastern. Thank you, Kelly, for putting the Eastern because I screwed it up and came at 8 o'clock. The next one is July 28th. And Bridget Young is Black Sheep Mom. She's the mom of four children ranging from age 8 to 28. And she says each kid is wildly different, and she has been raised by, married to, and struggled with substance abuse herself. Right now, her son was recently paroled after being incarcerated for a drug related charge, and he's home. So there's that. And I'm going to turn it over to them. One of my big questions is what don't people see and what don't you get that other caregivers would? Like if you're caregiving someone dealing with substance abuse, I think as parents, you're treated differently.
Mhm.
Can I get a little hallelujah and
Yeah,
I
Kelly had a
think,
good answer to that the other day, so I'm gonna let her go.
yeah, I think I wanted to jump in and just give some background about my own experience. Mother, I have two grown children who are both in recovery, and I got into recovery at age 30 when they were 11 and 13. And that was quite a few decades ago. So I just wanted to put that in there to give context for my parenting with addiction issues. So it's on both sides in recovery myself and then recovering children with substance abuse issues. So both of my children ended up with substance abuse issues and are now sober, double digit sobriety, which I'm very, very grateful for. As to the question that you asked, yeah, nobody brings us casseroles. Nobody showed up at my door to support me. It's more like this, like, oh, that might be catching, or what did you do wrong? Or, and we're struggling with a very lethal and serious illness and issue. And it's no different than if our children had any other illness. And there's such a stigma around addiction in society. So it's difficult. It was difficult not to have that support or that recognition. So, Bridget, would you agree?
Totally, totally. Not having either functional support, that nobody brings meals, nobody checks on you to see how you're doing. Nobody gets how exhausted you are. People say, well, yeah, I know her kids got issues, and kind of do not have empathy enough or the understanding enough to understand that it is at times all encompassing, or you've been up all night, or you can't eat because you're worried sick, that it's affecting you physically, mentally. I think for me too, nobody understands that you're often in a place of your own resentment and anger. And people, I think, make assumptions around you enabling or coddling or financing, or, there's a lot of assumptions around, well, if you would just cut them off, if you would just do XYZ, there seems to be a lot of easy answers from the outside, whereas you wouldn't get that with somebody with cancer. They say, well, what do the experts say? Or what's the next step in the process? That's not offered to us. Sort of like everybody has their own opinion about addiction and what you should or shouldn't be doing.
I think as an addict myself, and I have always struggled with the concept of a disease. When you come into recovery, at least in 12-step programs, they talk to you about it, that it's a disease. And I'm sober a long time and I still have trouble. I don't think it's a moral failing, but I say it's a disease, but I struggle with actually feeling like it is. I think if addicts themselves struggle with that, it's understandable that the outside world does not see it as a disease. And we've also been told it's a moral failing our whole lives. Talk to me a little bit about how, because you've both had experience with substance use in your youth, when you start to see it in your child, do you go, oh, I got to cut this off at the pass, or what would have worked? Did you try anything that you think would have worked with you? What is one to do? You see your kid going down that path. What do you do?
I think it depends on the time frame you're in, depends on the age of the child, it depends on what you've already done. I'll say early on for us, it took mental health pretty seriously. So we have mental health on board here as well. So when we talk about it not being a disease, I'm a clinical psychologist, full disclosure. So I'm coming at this from two angles, as a mother, but then also as a professional who's worked with community mental health and addiction in other ways. And I've come to see it as a nervous system disease. I think we are trying to self-soothe. We are trying to calm ourselves down or disconnect or numb out or whatever that is. And so it may not fall in the category of medical or biological disease in the typical terms, but I do think you could look at wiring in the brain, nervous system being fried, and then the damage we do with drugs to the nervous system itself, where you can't bounce back or regulation isn't as possible, and you fry those systems. And I think it's also a disease of disconnection. And that's after many years of fumbling around here, thinking that, well, just another program will work.
Can you explain that disconnection?
Yeah, I think when you feel disconnected from yourself or other people or the community. So my son is on the autism spectrum. He was diagnosed quite young with OCD. He's very rigid. He has, checking behaviors, very, very, very anxious. And I think the initial use of, say, weed or alcohol was to take the edge off. Like, I don't want to feel like this anymore. And that for me is the continuum of the disease. It started with, I don't want to feel like this. This sucks. Physically, I don't like the way I feel. And then he would do whatever he could to get that calm, which eventually led to, obviously, meth does not calm you down, and that euphoria and that kind of checking out. So that's how I handle the question of disease. I struggle with some of the description around disease too in recovery. I mean, they call codependency a disease as well. I struggle with that a little bit. But dis-ease, if you're in dis-ease, yeah, I could call addiction that, or substance abuse disorder that. So early on, I'll just say what we did early on. It was mental health. We needed to deal with the mental health first. And I felt like he's using just to address stuff that we got to do counseling. And
I think Bridget is frozen. Oh, there you are. You're back.
Got me. I don't know how much you heard, but we did every therapy under the sun. We tried everything. Male therapist, female therapist. I think you heard me say horses. We did everything. And I think he became the identified client in that. So that was like all the family's problems got sort of tossed on the oldest kid who was having issues with mental health. And we went on the roller coaster ride with meds. And then there came a point where it was clear that addiction, he was careening out of control. Then began the years of bouncing in and out of rehabs, putting $25,000 on a credit card just to save his life.
As a caregiver myself, I take care of my mom. She's got advanced dementia, so she's not able to participate, but I feel 100% responsible for making all the decisions and that the results reflect on me. Kelly, how did you feel as a parent, especially because you were getting sober as your child was entering the phase of, oh, look, this is fun. My mom threw her hands up and said, straighten up or get the fuck out of my house, basically. I didn't straighten up for another 10 years, but it did pull me back a little. It did get my attention. Can you talk about that, about how responsible you feel for, because it's not like just giving them their medicine.
Yeah, it's really hard as a parent, as all parents here are aware, to not feel 100% responsible for your child, no matter how old they are. It kind of doesn't go away. It's a long journey and process to get clarity about where that responsibility ends and where it shifts to the child. And that depends, as Bridget said, on the age and the stage of life and so on and so forth. I also have a clinical background, and I would agree that this is a neurological issue and definitely a nervous system. So I just wanted to throw that in. I don't really like the word disease. I prefer illness if we're going to use that kind of word. I think that is the word that's actually used in 12-step literature, is illness. One of the main things about this question that started with, because we were both young, when we started our own substance issues, is that I think all parents want to do it differently than their parents did.
Of course, yeah.
And differently than what they experienced. And so it's really hard not to try to fix yourself through your child without knowing consciously that that's what you're doing. So because the child is such a mirror, an absolute mirror that you're looking into, or at least it's a mirror from your perspective, okay? There's a tendency to project your past, your history, and your issues on that child. And if I learned anything through this long journey, it's that my children are not me, and that my approach to them needs to be based on getting to know them for who they are versus the repetition compulsion that we all tend to have when it comes to trauma. Because I had trauma, I'm sure Bridget had trauma. And what we do is we have this compulsion to repeat this over and over again so that we can change it, so that we can come to a gestalt and be freed from it. And so we will do that through our children. So one of the most important things is if we can start from wherever we are, understanding how separate that our children are not us, even if they have similar issues, and that they may need very different things than we need it. And so that's a process of discovery and openness. So that sense of responsibility is, I mean, I was desperate to save my daughter, desperate to stop her, because I wanted to prevent what happened to me from happening to her. And I will say, in my fear, I believe that I actually contributed to the dynamic of what the progression that happened. And if in hindsight, there's a lot I know today that I would do differently. But, you know, as Maya Angelou says, when we know better, we do better. So it's not productive to regret the past. We're on a journey, and we're on a journey together. And for me, that journey is one of love. And that's where we end up. So, yeah.
So it was a long road for both of you. It was a long road for me. Hypothetical situation. You work with somebody or you know somebody from a social thing, and they come to you and say, I found such and such. I found a crack pipe in my kid's bedroom or whatever. Would you advise them to find support for themselves? And did you go find support for yourself? Do you tell them to be hands off and let's see where that goes? It could be a one-time thing. You say, push the kid right into rehab. Give that one piece of advice. You've got like 3 minutes with this person in an elevator before you both have to go separate ways. And they're going like, oh my God, I found a crack pipe in my kid's bag. Kelly?
I say pause,
Yeah.
pause, take a minute, take a breath, take some time, do get some support. I mean, I went everywhere for help. I couldn't get support. I was a single mom. The kind of support I got was not helpful. I did get some support. I want to qualify that a little bit, mostly in 12-step rooms. But yeah, I would say hands off to start with. I would say step back. I would say take a moment, pause, get some information, take some time, observe. Because one of the things I would recommend for people with young adults, young teenagers, young children who are moving in this direction is not to overreact. It doesn't mean that this isn't very serious, but don't jump in there immediately, and because that's where all the projections can come in. The other piece is, how can you contain this child? It's a matter of containment more than anything else, because we can't control it, we can't fix it. So what can we do? I think, how can you create a container that child can function in? And it's very challenging. This will be the hardest assignment of your life. But can you create a container in which that child
Feel safe.
where you don't overreact and try to control too hard, but you do things that create safety in whatever way in your circumstances so you have to have some permissiveness, right? Do you agree, Bridget? Do you think,
I
at a certain
do.
point? Yeah.
I'm going to go back to the age though, because this started very, very young with my son, my oldest son, and we knew it was pretty serious pretty early. And looking back, I wish I had taken it a little more seriously than I did. I kind of did well, everybody in the family's had addiction. He's going through a phase. He's going to do this, pot. Wow, not that big of a deal. I didn't scrutinize friends as closely as I didn't put up boundaries that I wish I had. I wish I had been a little bit more firm with the expectations in my home. So building that container is here. This is the expectation for our home, and these are the rules. And then very clear about what the consequence will be should those boundaries be crossed. And of course, that's going to be individual to every family. And that is not to say that all the energy goes toward what's going wrong, because I'm a firm believer. The only thing that has gotten us through this, I always recommend, is something called the nurtured heart approach. It's a whole thing, nurtured heart approach. And there's books and there's a website, and I'm trained as a trainer of trainers for that. So I've been doing it for years. And I think it's the only reason that I could find, or the only reason we have a relationship today. It's an energy based, I don't even want to say that it's like a technique. It's a way of relationally relating to difficult people, and everybody's difficult, right? I'm difficult. One of the ideas that where the energy goes, the person grows. And I was munching on this dot of what was going wrong for so long. Like, look, we got to nip this in the bud. Look, you got to stop this. Look, let's, even when it was positive pep talks, it was giving him the energy that I didn't trust him, that he just needed to be different from what he was. I sure wish that early on I had jumped in with good boundaries with some of the friends that he was keeping. And I felt sorry for the kids that he was hanging around. These were not good influences. They came from difficult situations, welcomed them into my home. It really caused a lot of problems. So I would say I agree. I think that as he got older, if you found a crack pipe in your 21-year-old's bedroom, I think we're talking about something different. I'm seeing this. So there's a couple friends that have popped back up into my son's life. He's only been paroled for 8 weeks. So this is an interesting time for me to talk about this. He's got a blank slate, right? We're starting over. And some of the old friends, we're talking back that he went to middle school with, that he's known since he was young, that were semi-poor influences, who have walked their own walk, have gotten sober, maybe have kids now, are coming back into the picture. And we've had very honest conversations about the influence of those people. And what you hang around is where you're heading. You're an adult. You get to make those decisions. I'm not going to tell you what to do, but I want you to look at their life. Is that the life you're striving to have? And then if you say, yeah, that's what I'm deciding. Okay. He's a grown man. And so my conversation around that looks different than it would have at 14. You do what you want to do. My rule is you cannot stay out all night. We have an 8-year-old here in the house. We have a dog that's going to bark. We have a curfew now. I'm sorry, you're 28, you have a curfew, but go get your own place if you don't want to adhere to that.
Jump in real quick. I just want to say
No,
one quick
Kelly,
thing on this
absolutely not.
question.
No, go, of course. Go ahead.
I think this is this elevator thing where we get in the elevator and tell the person there really are no right answers. And I would really direct people back to listening to themselves, their own heart and their gut. Because there's no one answer. There just isn't.
That's what I was saying. There is no right answer. The right answer is what works for you at the moment. And it may not work the next time.
I didn't say that I ended up going to CODA, so Codependence Anonymous.
I think we should all go to CODA. I think
No.
everybody should go to CODA.
And I met a lot of people who know this road. And so more than anything, it was just the social support of people saying, you don't even need to say it. I get it. You don't even need to talk about it. Like, you're going to say something and I don't even need an explanation.
Did you find support outside, Kelly?
I found support in the same rooms, CODA, Al-Anon, and 12-step. You know, the bottom line, 12-step recovery.
What about
The
family?
rest is everything. Family, not so much. No. Yeah. My family, it's transgenerational dysfunction. And, you know, I was born and raised in a cult, control, religious situation. And I wouldn't say there was no support because I have my mom here in a place of honor. She parented me and she loved me and she was always supportive in the ways that she could be, but they really didn't have the capacity or experience to really provide support. Everybody's just in their own survival, you know.
So I found very loving family members who meant well would sometimes make the situations worse, enabling, saying, I'll give you money, or, well, then you can just come live here, or undermining, you know, when he was a minor, you know, rules in my home. It would just cause a lot more issues, a lot more problems.
You're going to help a sibling with a child. The best way to help your sibling's child is to support your sibling.
Amen.
And to support that relationship with the child's parent.
Yes.
Don't try to replace that. That's
What she
intrusive.
just said.
It's inappropriate. So that would be part of my experience. Yeah.
I see nodding heads
Very
out there.
Yeah.
I will open it up. You can raise your hand. You can wave at me. If you don't have any questions, we'll just keep chatting. Okay, I see Danny.
Danny, I'm just gripped by this conversation and the quality of it. What it made me think of, though, one of the main things I once made a retreat before I got sober with Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. And she used to say that the experience of unconditional love, if we can give someone unconditional love, if they can experience that at some time in their life, the time will come when they are in deep crisis. And that will be when they're having experienced that will kick in and will take them through that crisis. Mm-hmm. And that may be the only thing in a lot of cases like this. That may be all you can offer. And the other thing I thought of was connected with the feeling of isolation. The thing about when you're a caregiver, the thing about addiction, we're wild cards. You know, disease process of physio. I'm a nurse, 39 years, and I've worked in a lot of alternative. Anyway, no other disease process is like this. There are things that happen that are unexpected, blah, blah, blah. But every day is a wild card with an addict. My mom was the child of a raging alcoholic. And she was not a drinker, but she brought the effects of that into our household. And so the injury is bad. I hated my mother for 50 years. And it took learning about my own humanity that changed my relationship with her and what happened to her, because I could no longer dehumanize her once I discovered my humanity through 12-step process. And that's all I want to say.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Danny mentioned unconditional love. I think that's one of the reasons that animal assisted therapy works in a lot of cases, because I don't know about anybody else, but I'm not capable of unconditional love with another person. There's always conditions. You know, outside of infants and animals, my feeling is there's always conditions. I'm good with my cats, good with farm animals.
Yeah, for me, I can access unconditional love, but it's not mine. I can access it. It's a power, and it's available to us all.
Talking about on a spiritual level.
Yeah, from an ego mind, I cannot. But even whether it's secular or spiritual, I can access unconditional love. Like you said, animals, nature, there's a power that I can access that's greater than me. That, and I'm not talking about religion or even God. I'm talking about love as a power that beats all, like Danny said. I can tap into it. And there's practices and ways and daily ways of living that help us do that.
I think for me, it wasn't until my son was in a position, whether it was an overdose or eventually prison, where he could not give me anything. I could get nothing, not even pride. There was nothing to be gained in terms of that relationship, that I started to glimpse what unconditional love of my son was. And I had always told him, you know, I love you no matter what. And this was a really big no matter what. And you always say, I'll do anything for my kids. And going to a prison once a week, making long drives, it's such a selfless kind of love. And Jody would know this, taking care of your mom or anybody in a caregiving role, that you give, knowing that you're not going to get any, you may not get anything back. Maybe a smile, you know, maybe something that gives you a sense of like relational connection, but that's going to be about it. And that's where I feel like I was able to tap into some sort of, it's not about me. I may not ever get anything.
I get a little of that with mom, and I get it. You know, it's easy now because I have help during the day. But over the 4th of July weekend, I had 2 days alone with my mom. And, you know, the minute she woke up, I was like, okay, how many hours till I get to put her back to bed? When it's just the two of us, I got to struggle. I have to work to put myself out of the picture, going, you know, this was my choice. Just like when you work with your kids, it's a choice, because not everybody keeps their kids and helps them. There are kids that are thrown out into the street. There are kids that just aren't cared for to begin with. I know, Bridget, you fought like crazy for your son and his rights while he was in prison. That's not a given. You know, like we'd like to, I'm feeling very teary. We'd like to think that it is, that, you know, like parents will always be there for kids, but they're not.
No, I was in the minority. My son will tell you, most of the guys he knew in prison, their families had cut them off.
One thing that will make a difference, that's the one thing, is that one person, that one source, that one person who hangs in there. The one, and the key thing is the choice. Bridget chose to drive to prison. I did the same thing with my daughter. I showed up for everything positive. When she came and was trying to get stuff to fund her addiction, no, sorry, no, I won't give you cash, but we can go to the grocery store. Let's go buy some groceries, things like that. But every single thing that was in the positive direction, I was there, absolutely supporting it. And another major thing I would say, and I want to get this out there because it was one of the magic keys for me with her, was that I had to learn to trust her competence. There's so much fear that goes on. I had to learn when she said, well, I'm going to go hang out with these kids that, I was in middle school, to say, oh, really? Are you, well, tell me more. When I'm going to quit my job. Oh, really? Wow, that's interesting. Really? And not to offer any advice, and to say, what are you going to do? And instead of telling her what to do, what are you going to do? Wow. And that was like the magic key.
Staying in a
Because
place of curiosity.
and not taking over. I'm her mom. I know that if she quits her job, she's going to have struggle. She's going to regret it. And it's like she may need to quit her job and learn that lesson. And I can go, wow, so you're going to quit your job. I just had to roll with it.
That's hard.
And that was like magic. Because she would go, yeah, and this is what I'm going to do. And then I'm going to do that. And I'd go, oh, wow, you know, and it worked because I believed in her. See, I didn't believe in her because I didn't believe in myself. And I didn't trust her because I didn't trust my own addiction. And I shouldn't trust my addiction or hers. But I can trust her and I can trust me, the intact whole self that's always been there.
I want to thank you both for being my first guest. And I'm a fan of both of yours, of the lives you're living and what you're writing and what you're going through. Is there anything from, I was going to say the peanut gallery, that's terrible, from the viewing audience, and is there anything you would like to close with? Because there's a lot to talk about, but we can always come back and do it another time. What I took out of this is trust the 12-step programs.
That
Did I take your thing, Nan?
Yeah, you suck. No, I'm kidding. No, what I was gonna say is, although I haven't dealt with somebody specifically with addiction issues that we would point to, except for myself, major, that what I heard here today made me look at the caregiving I did with my dad when he was dying. And he was an addict, but not in the same way. I wish I'd had 12-step tools because it would have made me take care of myself better while doing that caregiving. And it is such a powerful framework for being of service in these situations. So thank you for the examples you're setting. This is so powerful for us to come together and share because people need to talk about it on this level. This feeds a part of me that needs that kind of affirmation, the mirror, that other people get it, and to hear those stories in a more open, available place with thank you. And I'm so moved by this experience today. It's beautiful.
I don't want to throw a wrench in here at the end with 1 minute to go, but I will say, as much as 12-step programs have been beneficial and helpful for tons of people I know, including myself, I do think that there are other forms of recovery that can help. My
Absolutely.
son so averse to 12-step because he goes in and it's the war stories. And all he hears is the stories about getting caught up in, and he's like, I don't want to go back in that. I want to be free from that. So he's struggling with 12-step right now.
I get it, but it doesn't have to be. But I also want to say something about this, and I'm not pushing 12-step on anyone, is that sometimes doing the work in a program that is not directly related to your primary issue can also be super helpful. So it's like, you don't want to go to those places where it's going to push all your triggers, but the tools are useful. So I left a food disorder program. It wasn't working for me. It wasn't the right fit. But coming into something more general that addressed my codependence was huge. And so I think we agree, actually.
I just say it's whatever works. If it
Yeah,
works,
I don't think 12-step is for everybody. But it helped me get sober, but what it helped me more is help me be present for my mom, to be of service. And the whole concept of being of service to another human being and having it not be about me is something that I learned in the 12-step programs, separate from getting sober or not getting sober. I like to think of this as a little bit of being of service to Larger community. Thank you, Danny. I want to thank everybody for being here. I hope you all come back. This was a great experience for me. I hope it was for.
Yeah, this was great, Jody. Really great.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank
Yeah.
you,
Yeah.
Sarah. And
Glad to be here.
there is going to be a short survey at the end. It basically is, like, where did I screw up? What could I do better? What else would you like to hear about? If you'd fill that out, that would be, oh yeah, rub your hands, Danny. I know where to find you. But I want to thank my guests, Kelly Thompson, Bridget Young. I've put both of their Substacks in the chat. I put Kelly's Zoom, which I will remind you is her Zoom salon. Is it the last Tuesday of each month at 5 p.m.? No, it's
Yeah,
the
the
last
last-
Tuesday of month, 5 p.m. Mountain,
Mountain time.
7 p.m. Eastern,
Eastern.
and it's women talking. No experts, no panels,
It's
no
just
fixing.
talking. We're just talking. It's open. Yeah.
Because
Just hanging out,
communication
talking.
is key, and community. Thank you all.
Thank you,
Thank
Jody.
you, Jody.
Yeah.
Josie, you knocked
Thank
it out of the
you.
park.
This
Oh,
was
Yeah.
thanks, Danny.
Great
Good
job.
to see.
Bye.
Bye. Can't figure that out.
okay. I guess I'm going to pop out.
Okay, bye, baby.
Thank you, Lovey. You did so fantastic.
Thank you.
That was amazing.
Thank
I'm
you.
so
You guys were
excited.
easy.
It's a great series. All right.
I think it's going to be. I'm excited.
Yeah.
And I can make yours on time this time. There we go. End.